Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this. I have it on my clipboard. And this is the reason why I've decided to copy it and not type it in front of you, because you can see that the list is rather lengthy. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's ginormous, but still though, there was quite a bit of material here. Anyway, this is that map type, which we have been talking about before. And then you have some sort of an integer here. Then you have key pair and certain set of combinations. So this is something that the system gives us when this is how a system registers a keystroke. So I don't know, 0xC1. 0x is a notation that this is a hexadecimal number. Over here, you have a system name for that particular key, and over here you have our name for that particular key. So this part is pretty much modified to user specification. So I could have placed here tralala or whatever. It doesn't really matter at all. This is just something to tell me what is approximately on that key, what sort of character does that keystroke contain, because depending on which keyboard does a person use, this might differ. So these are not actual letters or characters on the keyboard. These are just you see numpad, if somebody presses a plus on the numpad, if somebody presses a backspace, etc. But I'm sure that down below, yep, there we go. So here we have letters, so you might be able to understand this better. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So depending on which keyboard does a user use, for example, if it's a Japanese keyboard, obviously it'll print out A, but obviously it won't be A. However, that does not matter because this can be altered as these keys. You have these codes here, so you know physically on the keyboard which button has been pressed. And depending on which button has been pressed on the keyboard, that doesn't leave a lot of options. You will always be able to figure it out what was pressed. So these are human readable formats, something that we put up for ourselves, our own interpretation, but this is what this is the system name for that key, and based upon that system name, you will always be able to figure out what key has been pressed on the keyboard physically. So this is quite long. This list can be modified. It can be changed to suit particular specifications. For example, if the differences between the UK and the US keyboard. So you just take a look at the character map of a UK and the US keyboard, and then you can just alter these to fit a UK keyboard, for example. But there really is no need, primarily because you will always be able to figure out which keys have been physically pressed on the keyboard. That would be it here. We shall return a bit later, but I seem to see a mistake here somewhere in the code. Yep, there we go. So std. My apologies for this. I didn't actually copy it in the example over here in my notes. The namespace is included in the top and not individually like this. I do believe that it is better like this as it causes less dependencies and we know exactly from which namespace are we pulling what sort of variables, as opposed to just including general ones here. That could be a problem later on. Anyway, bid you farewell. Take a look at this map, have a look at it, see which keyboard are you going to use, see which keyboard is the infected machine going to use. Based upon that, feel free to alter this, because all the keys are recorded here. You see, even the function keys, every possible key on the keyboard, even the mouse. Yeah, the mouse is somewhere here. I can't find it at the moment, but it doesn't matter. There we go. The last ones. Even the mouse buttons are recorded. So everything that you can imagine on the keyboard, all the buttons, I don't know, there are some crazy keyboards out there that I might have missed, but every single button that you can imagine is here. Also, if you manage to figure out some other buttons on some crazy keyboards out there, it is possible to, of course, add those keys here to even record those. But I don't think that there is a need, really. All the buttons on any regular keyboard are actually here, and even the mouse buttons are here. Well, you might wonder, why do we need mouse buttons in a keylogger? Well, we actually don't. So we don't actually need them we don't actually need to record the mouse clicks, but rather instead we will use them as triggers in all likelihood a bit later on. For example, if somebody clicks somewhere on a Facebook page, that will be a trigger to take a screenshot and to send that screenshot. So we'll be able to use them as triggers for functions later on in the tutorial. But for the time being, let's just leave them here as an additional resource. In addition to that, you even have arrow up, volume down, volume mute, all of these keys. But I mean, obviously, it is not likely that we shall actually record these keys, because we're primarily not that interested in them. However, as I said, we'll be able to use them as triggers for certain other actions later on. Bid you all farewell now, this time for real, and I'll see you in the follow-up tutorial.